All right, a lot of you guys have been clamoring for further details on the Meraki Espresso Machine, in particular the build materials. So today we're going to take a look at the build materials, all of them that are involved. We are going to do a bang test, we're going to do a wiggle test, we're going to compare the sound of the rotary pump in here versus a vibratory pump. We are going to, in addition, take a look at all the different features it's got because it really has a lot, and I'll give you my experiences so far. Meraki, by the way, is a term that comes from either the Greek or the Turkish, which means to do something with passion. So with all that being said, let's just have a look at the machine. Right now it's in its off state. And that's something I want to show you is how much time it needs to warm up because it's not much. This machine does have a timer feature, by the way. That's part of the reason that you put the time in there. It can warm itself up. So I got it set at 5 o'clock in the morning, which means that it has been off now for 5 hours. So it's basically a cold start. Let's see how much time it needs to turn on. But first, let's look at the build materials. So a lot of people are thinking, oh, what the heck? Plastic. It's plastic. What's going on? Well, yeah, it's plastic. There's ABS plastic on there, but there's a whole bunch of different materials, right? So you have got a mixture of stainless steel, like this, for example. You have got aluminum, such as the drip tray cover right here. So that is aluminum. Then you have got ABS plastic. So this is ABS plastic, the lid, of course. Here you got the water tank. I don't know what kind of plastic that is, to be honest, but the rest of it, the case and everything, that's all ABS plastic. And this right here, this is part of the drip tray, the riffled part that comes out. I mean, it's pretty solid. I'm not worried about something like that breaking. The drip tray, actually the molding is nice, if you can see that there. It's a nice clean mold. So that's what that looks like. Let's put this back together. One thing that I will say is they designed it this way so that they could kind of make the machine look like what they wanted. So yeah, some of it is plastic, like the casing here is plastic, but inside this plastic is a stainless steel boiler. And in between the plastic jacketing and the stainless steel boiler is an insulation. Through that, they're able to get the shape that they want. So they got 3 elements. They've got the grinder, which is separate. It's not integrated into the machine like it would be on a Breville machine or like on a Lit. So that this way it's separate, it's not getting exposed to the humidity, to the heat. That's kind of nice. Second thing is, of course, the brew group. And what I think is really interesting about this is if you look, I don't know if you can tell any difference in color, but this is actually aluminum. So this is anodized aluminum, and they've dyed it just right to fit the exact same color of this plastic paddle up here, as well as the rest of the ABS plastic on the unit. So that's kind of interesting. All right, and the third thing, of course, is the steam boiler, which is jacketed by this ABS plastic and has insulation inside as well. The steam one, of course, is stainless steel, and it is the best one I've used so far at home. It provides a lot of power. It's got a 3-hole tip. But what else is really nice about it is that it's not too much power or it's not too hot. And so you actually have some time to texture your milk, and this almost does it for you. It's really, really easy to texture your milk. Of course, that doesn't mean that you're gonna be a latte art expert. It still requires a whole lot of practice to pour it in just right, and you gotta have your crema just right, and there's a lot of things to consider. But at least texturing your milk is very easy with this machine. So those are the materials for the most part. Now, the portafilter is also stainless steel, and this portafilter has got such a cool design feature up its sleeve that I will forgive it for the handle breaking off. Watch this. Oh, you can remove the bottom part. Is that not nice? And it's not like the La Marzocco Linea Mini, where it's just a plastic piece that you screw in, and it's not like the new Profitec Go, where they got that silly silicone thing flapping down. This is actual stainless steel, and it's held in really well through a gasket, a rubber gasket. So you can either have it bottomless like this, or just push it back on, and you got it spouted. And I think that is awesome. That is a really cool design cue that they made there. talking more about materials, we got here the brew group screw-in part, whatever you call this part here. That is currently aluminum. On my model, it's going to be switched out for stainless steel on the next batch coming in August. Also on the grinder, this exit chute is currently on my model aluminum, and it will become stainless steel. For me, it doesn't really matter, but they're going to change it to stainless steel, and I guess that's going to be just a higher quality metal. Then you got the drip tray cover here, which is also stainless steel. And what's kind of clever is that they have designed this rubber part to actually, it's got slits here on the side. If you can see that, there's slits, and so the water can run out into the drip tray. So that's kind of neat. Here's their logo, by the way, the three dots, and the one dot. This catch cup, that's aluminum, nice. Oh, I still have grounds in there. That's a nice aluminum with a magnet on the bottom. I'll dump that out. Don't mind me, by the way, I got my notes sitting out right here so that I hopefully don't forget anything. There's a lot to talk about with this machine. So let's keep going. Yeah, I think then let's do a bang test, and then we're going to do a wiggle test and move on to the features. So if we just bang on stuff, let's see what it sounds like. I was hoping to find a mallet like what you got for like a piano, like one of those kids' pianos, but I couldn't find one, or like a xylophone. But I got this. This is a pretty heavy duty screwdriver. So I'm just gonna bang on stuff and let's see what it sounds like. I got the microphone right up here. So this is stainless steel. This is the plastic jacketing. This is the aluminum drip tray. This is the aluminum right here of the brew group assembly. This is the plastic part on top with the RFID reader. And I should mention more about that, but I'll show you the RFID reader later. Can bang on here the base. So the base is also this riffled kind of plastic. So this is ABS plastic. It's pretty solid, to be honest. Let's do some more banging on the back. The sucker is heavy, by the way, 15 kilos what it weighs. I mean, it's a pretty heavy screwdriver. You can hear that. Let's do some banging here on the grinder. So that's what all that plastic ABS jacketing sounds like. This is the aluminum of the grinder chute and the lid. So that sounds, of course, you know, a little more weak, but it's just a lid. Same thing here on the back. Yeah, so that's the bang test. Let's do a wiggle test. Like, can I wiggle it? I can wiggle it, but not much. Not much. And I do think it's two separate pieces. This jacketed piece, it must be screwed down here to the base. What about the brew group unit? I can wiggle a little bit. And again, that seems to be separate from the base here. So it must be screwed down as one extra part. And then what about the grinder? Again, same thing. A little wiggle, not much. What about the back? Let's see if we can wiggle the back. So, water tank, I mean, to me, honestly, the machine seems solid. Of course, I can't say anything about the longevity. I haven't had it that long, and I have not opened it up to see what the connections look like inside. Of course, that is another consideration. But just using the machine so far, and banging on it, and wiggling it, and using it, to me, it seems to be fine. Fine build quality.
Getting value from this video? Please take a moment to like and subscribe.
Let's talk about features next, and then let's start this sucker up. So it's a dual boiler. As you know, I think it's a 300 milliliter stainless steel and a 550 milliliter stainless steel boiler. They are insulated and jacketed in the ABS plastic. It has got dual scales, and that's something I've really been loving. So I don't have to screw around with my own scale and tear it out each time for grinding and then for my espresso dose. It does it for me. That is super convenient. It's got a 37 millimeter conical grinder that comes from Time More, or at least it's a collaboration with Time More. Yeah, it's got PIDs for three things: for the brew boiler, for the steam boiler, as well as here for this collar where you screw the portafilter into. Those are the three things that are temperature controlled. It's got a display with all the functions on it, which is quite cool. From the display, you can either start these things like the grinder or the brew group or the steamer. And if you start the steamer, for example, from the screen, then you're entering automatic mode, and you can just set your milk in there, position this how you want, and press the button. It will then steam until the temperature is read, because there is a temperature probe right here. So that's a very cool thing. Same thing for the brewing. If you start it up here, then it's going to brew gravimetrically. That means not by volume, but by weight. It's going to brew until whatever you have put in there, right? So if you put in 30 grams, it will brew until 30 grams. So that's quite nice. You can also start these manually just by flipping the switch there, and then you bypass the weight measurement. It will still show you the weight, but it will not stop itself. So you can do that yourself. That's just a Boolean switch, just on and off. It is not a paddle to do anything with flow profiling or anything. Same thing here. This is just off, on, off, on. And you can adjust the temperature on here, low, medium, and high, to adjust the amount of steam that you get out of here. I think right now I got it set on medium. I kind of wish that there was a way that you could just trigger the grinder as well manually, so I could just go boom, boom, boom. That would be cool. There is no way to do that with the grinder at this point. Talking about the grinder, this grinder is currently stepped, but it will be with the next batch, as I understand, made stepless. I hope that they still include the encoder on there, because what's neat is when you are adjusting the paddle here on the grind, you do see it adjusting up here. And that's the cool thing, because with the beans that have this RFID on the back, you just put it on top of there, and it will notice what kind of beans they are and tell you what range you should set your grinder at. So I do hope they keep the encoder feature on there. Features, it also has a hot water outlet down here, and has quite a few cool graphics on the HMI. One last thing I did forget is there's a deionizer here in the grinder, which is always a nice touch, so that your grinds stay nice and fluffy, so they don't have as much static on them. And I would say, I'm gonna talk about a few minus points, but let's start it right now. And I am going to start my timer, and we'll see how long it takes to fire up. Okay, so from a cold start, this generally takes about 3 minutes for it to get up to temperature, even such that you can steam already. So that's very good. And if you're going from a warm start, like if it has been on within the last couple hours, it just takes 2 minutes. So that's very good. Excellent heat up time. And let's talk about a few minus points. So as I mentioned, this is not for flow profiling, which is unfortunate. There is no flow profiling on this machine at all, which also implies that there is no pre-infusion that you can do. There's no low pressure pre-infusion, no low flow pre-infusion. What you can do is start it manually, stop it after a few seconds, and start it again. But the problem with that is that it will release with the three-way solenoid valve. It's gonna release the pressure up off the puck, pulling the puck up out of place and removing the pressure, and that just results in a crappy shot. So I'm just going to go out and say it. There's no pre-infusion on this machine. Unfortunately, no profiling. I think that would take this machine to the next level. If they could implement flow profiling, like maybe in the next version, that would be awesome. So that's one minus point. I think people are kind of assuming they might get flow profiling. Well, you won't. I guess the second minus point would be that this is governed, and unfortunately oh, it's already ready. Look at that. 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Okay. Yeah, it's already ready. So anyway, what's a little bit unfortunate as a minus point is the fact that you cannot set this temperature as you want. So if you want a little hotter, or if you prefer it cooler, you can't adjust that, but that's just a small thing. I think what's a little bit more unfortunate is the fact that this is not, through the design, not that easy to clean. Like, my wife looks at this machine, she would think, oh man, I gotta clean this, I gotta try to get here in this area here to clean, I gotta try to get in between here to clean. And so because these are all individual modules, it's more surface area to clean, and it's harder to get into the nooks and crannies. That's one actually pretty important thing to consider, is how easy something is to clean. And probably the last minus point is price. So right now they're selling this on the Kickstarter for, I think, quite a low price, like $10.99 or $11.49, but the MSRP is going to be $17.99, and that's pretty expensive for a lot of people. But for sure, I know from an engineering standpoint, there is a lot of R&D that goes into these things. There's employees that you have to pay. There's different toolings that you have to amortize over time. With all that being said, let's just take a look at the HMI for now, and then we'll make an espresso and a cappuccino, and we're gonna do a test as well. So, but before we look at the HMI, let's do this. Let's do a sound test. The microphone is right here. So I'm just going to start a shot, and you guys listen how loud the rotary pump is, and then we're gonna try a vibratory pump, and you're gonna see how that is. So I would say that this one is louder and more annoying than this one. Microphone is right here. Rotary pump. Vibratory pump. Okay, let's look at the HMI. All right, if we take a look at the HMI right here, you have got 3 different buttons. Essentially, you got the grinder, the brew, and steam. So if you go to grinder, you can choose either an auto grind, and that shows you your grind level right now, 14, which corresponds to that number right there. It's actually 1 click off. And you got 17 grams that you're gonna dose out here into that cup. That's the auto grind. Oops. You can also go to manual grind as well if you like. I prefer just to keep it on the auto grind. Yeah, so that's the grind. You just press grind to start. Quite easy. Stop that. As you see, that back button is definitely way too small. You got to be real accurate in clicking it. The next one we got is the brew function. So this shows us our temperature, which you can adjust. Right now, I've just got some beans in there, some from the grocery store. 28 grams is what I'm going to be aiming for volumetrically. So if you press that button, then it is going to put that amount into your cup. So we got 17, 19, 28 grams right there. All right, so that is the brew function. And what's neat is that actually that temperature right there, when you put a bag on that's got this code on it, then it will tell you which temperature prefers. You see that 93 degrees, that's starred at 93. So that is what we would then have installed is 93 degrees. But what we're gonna, oh, and there it is right there. That's the Meraki I, a light roast. But actually what we got in there currently is something else. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna reset it. If you pull down from the top, then you've got this reset button here, and that resets it. Oh, it's still on there, remove it. And what that does is resets it then just to a standard default. So that's what that is. And then steam, okay, it's set at a medium temperature right now. So you got mild, medium, and strong. And that's just the steam level that results from that. It's set at 59 degrees right now. So if you press the play button here, it will then stop. It will stop once it hits that, but of course it's got to be in milk right now. It's at ambient temperature. All right, then let's have a look at the settings menu. You got Wi-Fi, you got the timer, so I got it set to turn on at 5 in the morning. What else have we got here? Cleaning, so back flushing, instructions. What I really like, and I forgot to mention this, I like that it's got a scale. So for example, if I want to use the scale, I can just use that. I don't know, let's see. Let's see what this thing weighs. 317 grams. Not bad. Let's see what the tamper weighs. Let's tear out. Tamper. 331 grams. So that is a really nice feature to have that scale in there as well. And then you got the hot water spout. So if I just hit that button right there, then it shoots hot water out. All right, so that's basically the thing in a nutshell. Okay, so of course I did also do some temperature trials on the machine, as you'll see here, me preparing a puck from the side here. And what I did is I used the tools that were included with the machine. I used the leveler, and I used the included tamper as well. And then I took my multimeter, which has got a temperature probe on it. I mean, it's a rudimentary way of testing, but it should at least give us some idea of precision. Oh, I should mention, however, that my temperature probe does read about 4 degrees too low. So I did various tests, various trials with the temperature probe just to see like how solidly the temperature was being held over the course of the shot. And that is what we see here. I'm going to show you 4 different shots, you know, where it starts and how it rises up to temperature and how flat that it stays while it's extracting. So you can see that we're extracting anywhere between 88, 90, 92 degrees, and it's holding it pretty steady during that time. So that is what the temperature test looks like on the Meraki Espresso Machine.
Excellent.
All right, now let's go ahead and make a shot, see what that looks like. And what I'm gonna do is just see how accurate that scale is. So we're gonna just tear out my scale here with the catch cup. All right, I got it set for 18 grams. Let's see what we get out and how long it takes. Should take about 1.5 grams per second. Okay, pretty nice fluffy grind on there. 17.7, so it is 0.3 off, is what it is. Let's make ourselves an espresso. It's time. Now the machine does come with a couple of tools. It comes with this leveler, and I normally do WDT, so this thing is fun to turn, but I'm not really so sure how excellent it does at distributing. But we'll see what the bottomless shot looks like coming out of there. All right, 18 in. I'm just gonna go for 36 out. Let's do a standard dose. 36. All right, let's go to town. 93 degrees. Actually, I'm gonna turn it down. Let's turn it down to 91. Okay. All right, so there's my espresso right there. 22 seconds. I could grind a little bit finer. That's actually not a super long shot, but you can tell that is full of crema. Of course, I'm using freshly roasted beans. They're a little bit on the darker side, but there's our shot right there. Of course, I forgot a spoon. All right, but how does a shot taste? It's good. I think I let that one run a little bit long, but I've been getting shots out of this machine that I think are good. I do feel like if they would introduce flow profiling, I could get just more flavor out of the shots. Maybe a little bit better separation of flavors, better clarity. The body is very good. And I've tried different shots. This bean is not exactly a special one. It's just average. So what else this machine can do is it can do auto milk steaming. And I did a video the other day where I made myself an espresso. I used the auto steaming to try it out. And I was able even to pour some latte art in there. I mean, pretty good for me anyway. So yeah, the auto steaming actually works quite well on this machine. You just have to position the wand correctly. It is a really long one, so it can reach, in fact, all the way down into your pitcher, no problem. So now that we have done that, let's move on to something else. Let's make a cappuccino with alternative milk, because I find alternative milk is for sure the hardest to steam with. And what we're gonna do is just remove our bean hopper there and put these beans back, and I'm gonna show you how to use the RFID next. There's still some beans in there, so we have to get those out first. Let's see how much we have to waste to switch beans. Looks like about 7 grams. That said 7.5 and this is 7.4, so actually it was quite close that time. But what I want to do is use the RFID. So we're going to use this light roast here. This is the Meraki I. It is a natural processed bean from Ethiopia. Maybe I have to go back. Yeah, okay. Excellent. So I'm gonna put these beans in and let's pull a shot of light roast. Smells fruity. So anyhow, what it's going to do now is tell me about what grind size that I need. So if I go to the grinder, it's going to tell me about where I need to go. All right, so I need to go right in that range right there. The orange, so that is about size 11, and it's telling me 18.5 grams. All right, let's do 18.5 and let's grind. Okay, it says 18.6. Let's see, what do we get there? 18.6. Oh, in this case, it's been right on. And with the brew, it doesn't give me a ratio, it just says 36 grams. I think that was from before. It does tell me 93 degrees, so that's what we're going to use. Okay. All right, so here we go. Let's prepare our puck. It's getting to be a long video. Excellent. All right. Let's see what that looks like. And you can see it's just so easy to just plop down your cup there. Don't have to tear a scale. Don't have to tear a scale here for the grinder. It just makes things way easier. Anyhow, let's see what this one looks like. Play. Not looking too bad. Alrighty, 32 seconds, okay. 32 seconds and 37 grams, that is quite good. So it gave us a grinding range. I just went right to the middle of the grinding range, did the suggested dose, and I got 32-second shot out of there. It smells delightful. So with light roasts, you need to have enough temperature, and the temperature should be held up high enough over time in order for the shot to not be like too acidic, too sour. Let's see how this one is. Son of a gun, that one is really fruity. That one reminds me, wow, it's really good. It reminds me quite a bit of strawberries and somewhere in there tangerine or orange. Yeah, that's something else. Yeah, so these beans are much better than the ones I used in the previous example. So I think if you're using this machine with good beans, I think you can get some really nice shots out of it. But I've been using actually quite a bit of just like ordinary medium dark or kind of on the darker side beans in order to try latte art and stuff. This is better for contrast. But yeah, when I tried this shot again, and I have tried this before, it reminds me that this machine can actually pull up quite a nice shot, actually. Better than good, better than decent. That's quite good. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Last thing we're going to do, let's steam some, what kind of milk is it? Oat milk. Let's steam some oat milk one time. This is notoriously difficult to steam, but this machine can steam anything. Let's just see if we can get it designed here. All right, I poured my light roast in there and I did drink some of it, so let's just see what I get. I might not get enough contrast, but let's see. By the way, this has not been so floppy anymore. I don't know why it was floppy the first time, but in particular, I've been using it here from the front and I've not had any issues with it being floppy anymore. The thing is, this really injects air and it's dry. I measured it out. It's like 14 grams of water that it introduces, which is really low. The Breville dual boiler, I tested at 20 grams. and other normal machines are like 30 to 40 grams of water that they introduce. So this one is super dry steam. It does seem to drip a bit here off the tip. But the milk itself, if you can see that, actually very creamy. As far as pouring the design, I don't know. I mean, it's a little bit of a design. I think I made the milk there, it's still a bit too thin. I would have to puff up that milk even more, which oat milk is really notorious for. You gotta add a ton of turbulence, a ton of air to it to get it to really froth up at all. But you can see there, at least I got a little bit of a heart design there. And the milk itself is nice and creamy. Oh yeah, that's good. I'm not generally an alternative milk drinker, but I do kind of like oat milk for cappuccino sometimes. It adds a little bit of extra flavor, almost like a cinnamon in there or something. But yeah, there we go. Today, we did with this machine, and we talked about materials, we talked about all the functionalities that it has. We did a bang test, we did a wiggle test, we did a rotary pump versus vibration pump sound test. We made a dark roast espresso, a light roast espresso. We tried out the RFID, we showed the HMI screen, we steamed some milk, alternative milk, and we tried the auto milk steaming. I hope that this video is comprehensive for you and that it gives you a good idea what this machine is capable of, its pros as well as its cons. I think really the main thing holding people back is, first of all, the MSRP is kind of expensive and it's from an unknown company, right? Meraki is kind of coming out of left field. Longevity, I can't say anything to. What I would suggest that you do is just wait for more reviews to come out. There'll be more people reviewing this machine. Home Cafe by Charlie, he did a live video with it. I'm sure there's gonna be other content creators out there too who will be testing this machine, seeing what kind of espresso it delivers, what kind of steam capabilities it has, and give their opinions as far as the build quality and the features and everything else. So just wait for some more reviews and then you guys can make your decision what you want to do. Whatever the case, very interesting machine, and I know this is a long video. Thanks for sticking with me. If you have stuck with me this far in the video, do a hashtag in the comments of Meraki. Until next time, I say happy coffee drinking, happy cappuccino drinking. Adios, viert euch, and ciao.